Welcome back. So if you didn't watch my video on how to create a course, please go back and watch that first. That way you have a course to work with. But this video is going to go over setting up the course after it has been created. So here we see our sample course from the first video that we're going to navigate into by clicking on that title. This brings us into what is the default view for instructors in the course, right? Which is this clipboard, which is the assignments page. Notice that students may enter on the content page and may need to navigate to the assignments page. So that's a good note. When you create anything on the assignments page, it does not change anything on the content page. So just be aware of that. So you may want to recommend your students to navigate to the assignments page and work from there, clicking on the links to navigate over to content. All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about is modifying dates. So everything in your course, when you create the course, will be set to be due on the last day of the course. Okay? You'll notice the modules actually have a due date, although they're not graded, so that doesn't really matter as much, but the modules do have an actual due date. Okay? The individual module due dates can be updated if you want to, right? As the dates when you expect the students to be done with that module. Okay. We're going to do that by clicking on our little ellipses menu and going to View, Edit Details, and then going up to this Edit Details button. That is going to let us modify any settings that are available inside of that module. So for a module, it's pretty minor, right? It's mainly just, I'm going to set a due date. Let's do that. We're going to set a due date of next Wednesday. And we're going to click on this Save button. Make sure that you save. If you don't save, if you navigate away from the page without saving, it will not update the due date. Okay. Now, you can create folders, right? If we go up to the Create button, we can create new folders. You can also create posts, which I'm using as content items. So if I need to post information, I'm using post. I haven't really been using the announcements a lot, but announcements will actually show up in the announcements area. You can also create announcements there. And then assignments is the other option. Okay, so you have lots of options for things to create. I'm going to talk about a couple of things with this, and then I'm going to show you some things. So due dates, setting them is a good idea. In fact, on the exams, you have to change the date. So by default, every exam within the new platform, when you create a new course, is set to open and close and be due on the very last day. So this isn't usually how most of us run our classes, right? They're going to take their exams as they go through the course, right? Unless you have a really, really short course. And so what we need to do is we need to go into View, Edit Details, and edit details again. That's pretty much the pathway for editing anything within the course, even assignments once you create them. Now, if we scroll down, you will notice a couple of things here. You'll notice the due date, which I'm going to set to the 18th as well. Oh, no, wait, I'll set it to the 25th. Now, notice that it says the date must be greater than available from date. And if you try to save right now, it's going to error. The other item that you want to make sure that you change is the availability. So if you want it to only be available for 2 days or a week or however long, you can set that here. This is the equivalent of what we had as activations. If you want them to be open for the entire course, you can do that now. So you can set the start date to the first day of the course and the until date to the last day of the course, and then have a due date of, which allows some flexibility in allowing students to be able to retake an exam or take an exam late without you as the instructor having to go back in and do a bunch of additional work. You can also go into a few different things here. You can go in here, you can limit the number of attempts. Okay, so you can say, well, I only want them to have 3 attempts. Okay, and I want to keep the highest score or the last attempt or any of those settings, right? If it's missing once you're past the due date, do you want to treat it as null or do you want to treat it as 0? And then you can set grade visibility to manual if you want to. I don't recommend that because then you have to worry about going in and doing that, right? You can set, oh, you cannot on this one, sorry. You cannot set submission to required. I'll show you guys that in a little bit under assignments, because that's something that's useful if you have an item that you need them to submit, but is maybe not graded. So that's the place where I've been using that. You can also go in and modify, well, you can't do this yet, but I imagine we'll eventually be able to do this, where you can actually assign it to a subgroup if you had one. And then you can go into visibility. If you wanted to hide it for now, you could do that. Okay. All right. Oh. Okay, it is. We'll see. All right, so I have this now opening, so available from. It does not tell you the available to date, so just as a note here, and then due date. If you click on the exam, I think it does tell you, no, I guess not. It really doesn't tell you when it's available to. It tells you when it opens and when it's due, okay? And it tells you how many attempts. You can see all of that. All right. Now, if you want to create assignments, so if you are having students submit assignments within NetAcad, you're going to need to create assignments, right? And just like we always have, it's never been something that they could just automatically submit, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to go to create, and we're going to create an assignment. Now, there's 2 types of assignments. The first one is custom, or the default is custom. The custom assignment type is great when you want to provide some kind of information and you want them to submit something for that. This is great for things that you've built as an instructor. So if you've built packet tracer assignments and you want them to complete them, you can do that here. This is great for weekly check-ins, if you have those, for journaling, and anything that is other than something that is content hosted. Okay, I'll show you what I mean in a minute. Now, if you want this assignment to be ungraded, you can do that, right? Something like a forum where you're just having them check in, you just want them to do it. You're not going to give them a grade for it. It doesn't count against the grade. But you can go into submissions and still require the submission. So you can require a submission, but have it be ungraded. Okay, so don't receive a grade, they just get a check mark. Yes, they've done it. No, they haven't. And then also the due date here, you can attach files up here in the right-hand corner, add descriptions, instructions, and a name. Okay, so nice and simple. Now, if you are building an assignment like a packet tracer that is based on an item in the curriculum, you can do that a little easier by going to content assignment. And I'm just going to type in a name here. Complete the PT. Obviously, you would want more than that, right? But, and then within the curriculum, you're going to navigate and find, I think there's a 155. Yeah, there we go. You're going to find the content item that is related to what you're having them complete and hit add selection. And I'll show you what this does here when we come back out. I am going to make this graded. It is ungraded by default for some reason for content items. So just keep that in mind. You may want to do that. I do not have if you want to create grade categories, you can do that outside of the assignment interface, or you can create them right here in the actual assignment interface, which is super nice. Now it exists. So now I can go back out and I'll just be able to pick it next time. All right. Again, you can change availability if you want to. By default, assignments are going to be open from the start of the class to the end of the class with you can set the due date. All right. Go ahead and save. So I made that an ungraded assignment, or no, that one was a graded assignment. Sorry. I made that a graded assignment. You can move stuff around by dragging and dropping now, which is nice. Yeah. Then we're going to go. Oh, I say that, but where did it just go? It didn't go into place. Okay, well, release it right where you want it. Also, these are folders, right? So when you put something inside of a folder, right, see how it turns green, puts it inside that folder. So if you're moving things to other folders, you'll have to just be careful because sometimes they can put it between the folders instead of in the actual other folder. So here, I'll show you guys that just real quick. And also everything goes to the top by default. It's kind of weird, but it is what it is. I'm going to open that folder and I'm going to move module 1 up to that other folder. So see how it turned green? If I put it here or I put it, well, it's going into the green. You see the green, right? And that's going to put it in that folder. So then when I condense that folder, collapse that folder, it's going to hide it, right? Okay. When you select the content assignment, it is going to automatically open the curriculum close or at that assignment. Okay, they might have to scroll down a little, but it's going to be super close to where it's at. They can download the files, right? And remember that these are the most up-to-date versions of these files. Sometimes there are things that are updated and they don't get updated in the instructor resources for a little while. And so always recommend students to download their files from within the actual curriculum, okay, if you want the newest version. All right. Now, when students go in, that is the student view, right? I'm gonna put that in air quotes because you can't view a true student view within this. I mean, it'll show you student view, but it doesn't actually show you. So if I go back out and hit view as learner, you can see the student view. But you'll notice you don't see the submission here. Okay. They get a submission box over here in this area, but you do not see that as the instructor, okay? Because this isn't a real true student or learner view, whatever they're calling it. So they go up to actually go to submission in the here. Sorry. So they have the option to submit. All right. Go back out. So we talked about assignments. If you need to create items where you need to post information, syllabus, for example. So you can see it made a post. Now, please note that these are condensed, right? So they only show the first however many lines. And so if this post gets large, it has this little show more button that will show the rest of it. So just make sure students are aware of that and put the important stuff or the new stuff at the top, okay? If you're something you're adding on to. You can host file links within this. So let me show you guys real quick. I'll navigate over to one of mine. I'm going to pause the share for just a second. I'll show you guys what I did. Here we go. So what I did, right, was host things like the PowerPoints, the student PowerPoints. This is an instructor class, so they have instructor PowerPoints also, but the student PowerPoints, for example, where I've gone through and I've made them ADA compliant, and I've taken out all of the instructor stuff that's in them. And so I just created a link. I hosted them on a share on OneDrive. You could do this on OneDrive. You could do this on Google Drive. You could do this on Dropbox, right? Wherever works for you. And then just host a link to it here within the class. So they then can open that and have access, and then go back as needed. Probably should have this open in a new tab in a new window. I need to go in and update the settings for that. But you can see where I have items built here, but you see where it's not showing the whole thing, right? And so you have to click on show more to be able to see the rest of it. And same thing, actually, this may be everything for this, but no, there's one more thing down here. Okay. And then I built this particular course requires that they have a daily check-ins. I built ungraded custom assignments that just say, hey, check in, submit a summary of what was done today. And so they're just going to go to submission. And obviously this isn't going to show anything right now because I'm in it. I don't have any students in here yet that have submitted anything. So also the gradebook now shows when they have submissions. So you don't have to go from assignment to assignment and look at the submissions. You'll be able to go to the gradebook and see all of the submissions, whether they made a submission or not. Okay, but you can see that I just built links out to each of the outside items. There is a place where you can put resources. So if you go over to the content and click on resources, you will find two things. You will find the instructor resources, the student resources, or I guess three things. And then also you can add your own resources. So you can add resources down here. I don't love this because it's not, you're not able to reorganize it in a way that works for you. You can't create folders and things within it. So if you add resources in here, my recommendation would be to link them in the actual course, right? So link them in the assignments here. You can link course curriculum resources, whatever they're calling it, into an item or into an assignment. And that's what I would do, right? So they don't have to get them from this resources, because this will just be a list in whatever order it puts it in. It's not in the order that you add the files. It seems to be alphabetical, which is not ideal, especially when you're dealing with numbers, especially when you start getting into like the networking essentials and cybersecurity essentials that are, 30 something modules. So it puts 3 and then 30 and 31, 32, 33, right? So not ideal. All right. In the next video, I will talk about setting up your WebEx.